Today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty unexpected. Uh, Silence.
Silence.
Yeah, you heard right. But not just any silence. We're talking about silence as like a superpower, especially in sales.
Interesting.
We've got some pretty mind-blowing ideas about this.
I'm intrigued.
So we're ditching that, that typical image of the fast-talking salesperson, always got to be yapping, and we're going to see how being silent, mastering that, can actually help you connect with prospects.
Okay, I'm listening.
Welcome to The Deep Dive, an intense exploration of how you show up in life, business, and relationships, and how they're all connected in the infinite thread that is you. So let's get into the dive. Here's your hosts, Marcus and Nara.
Hi there, deep divers. I'm Nara Daniels.
I'm Marcus Harrison.
Let's dive in.
Today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty unexpected. Silence.
Silence.
Yeah, you heard right. But not just any silence. We're talking about silence as like a superpower, especially in sales. We've got some notes and talks from this sales coach, Dan Gordon, who has some pretty mind-blowing ideas about this.
I'm intrigued.
So we're ditching that, that typical image of the fast-talking salesperson, always got to be yapping.
Right.
And we're going to see how being silent, mastering that, can actually help you connect with prospects, like on a deeper level.
Okay, I'm listening. What does this coach Dan say?
Well, one of the things he talks about is how, like traditional sales training, it often misses this like crucial element.
What's that?
The emotional side of things.
Interesting.
So I was like, say this and close with that,
Yeah.
And it just feeds into this fear of like saying the wrong thing.
Right. So where does silence come into play?
Well, he's saying that buying is, at its core, an emotional decision, right?
I mean, yeah, I think that's true.
By understanding and using silence, we can tap into those emotions and maybe even turn a no into a yes.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going. So how do we actually use silence to connect with someone emotionally?
He talks about using it to create space for the prospect to really think.
Introspection.
Exactly. And he tells this story about asking a prospect this simple question.
What was the question?
What do you want right now? And then silence.
He just stopped talking.
Yep. Just let the silence hang there.
Bold move. So what happened? Did the prospect just stare back at him?
No, actually, the silence made the guy really think about what he wanted.
Interesting.
And it turns out what he wanted most was certainty.
Huh, that makes sense. So just by being quiet, Coach Dan helped his prospect figure out his own needs.
Pretty powerful, right?
Definitely. It's like giving them the space to breathe and process rather than bombarding them with information.
Exactly. Because think about it. From the prospect side, buying something always feels a little risky, right?
Sure. There's always that uncertainty.
So silence gives them the time to weigh those risks, process their feelings.
And maybe come to a decision they feel more confident about.
Exactly.
Okay. But I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Is this like some Jedi mind trick or something?
No. It's not about manipulation.
Okay, good.
It's about creating an environment for authentic connection. Mm-hmm. Coach Dan actually calls silence a pattern interrupt.
Pattern interrupt.
Yeah, that breaks that usual back and forth.
I see. It disrupts the expected flow.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes the prospect actually pay attention.
Like a jolt of energy.
Right. And because it's unexpected, it forces both of you to really be present in that moment.
That makes sense. So silence, when used strategically, can actually make the conversation more engaging.
Exactly. It's not just about being quiet. It's about using that silence to shift the whole energy of the interaction.
I like that. So it's more than just a technique. It's almost like a mindset shift.
Right.
But honestly, just being silent, when you're used to filling every space with words.
It can be tough.
Yeah, it can feel really unnatural.
So how do we actually do this? How do we use silence in our sales conversations without it being, awkward?
Well, Coach Dan has this really simple technique he calls the count to 3 method.
Count to 3.
Yeah, after the prospect finishes speaking, just count to 3 in your head before you say anything.
That's it. Just count to 3.
It sounds simple, but it's really effective.
Okay, I'm curious to hear more about this.
It gives you this framework for practicing silence. And it helps you avoid that urge to jump in and fill every space. And it's not about, being silent just for the sake of being silent.
Right.
It's more about creating that natural pause.
Okay.
Give both of you a moment to think about what was just said.
So it's not about like forcing it in every situation.
Right.
But more about being intentional about it. Yeah.
Exactly. Being mindful of when you use it.
But what happens if the prospect gets all weird about the silence? Like they feel uncomfortable.
Don't try to like force a reaction.
Okay.
Or fill the space if they seem hesitant.
So just like let them be.
Pretty much. Just acknowledge how they're feeling and let them, sit with it.
Okay, so we're meeting them where they are emotionally.
Yeah, exactly. You're not trying to push them or anything.
And Coach Dan has this interesting idea about love dollars.
Love dollars.
Yeah, it's like every time you show genuine respect and understanding.
You're making a deposit.
Exactly. You're building up this goodwill that you can, use later on.
I like that. It's like you're investing in the relationship.
Right. Building trust. And then later on, maybe you can interrupt a little bit more, guide the conversation, offer suggestions.
Yeah, I see. So you're earning the right to lead.
Exactly.
Because you've shown that you actually care about what they have to say.
Right.
This whole thing about silence being a superpower, it makes me think about how much we rush to fill silence in regular conversations too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It's like we're programmed to avoid those pauses.
Yeah, we associate silence with awkwardness,
Big time. But Coach Dan's saying the opposite, right?
Yeah, he's like, flip that on its head. See silence as a tool,
For understanding.
For deeper understanding, yeah. For connection.
I'm starting to see how those quiet moments can be really powerful.
Yeah.
It's like in the silence, we actually listen.
You really hear what they're saying.
Not just the words, but the emotion behind it.
Exactly. And that's a skill we could all use more of, don't you think? Not just in sales, but in life.
Totally agree. But it's hard, to resist that urge to just fill the space.
It's definitely a challenge, but the more you practice, the easier it gets.
You really think so?
I do. And Coach Dan, he actually goes even further with this idea. He talks about how mastering silence can help us overcome fear.
Fear.
Yeah, that fear of uncertainty.
The kind we face in sales all the time.
Right, but also in life, He compares it to skydiving.
Skydiving.
You're willingly jumping out of a plane, embracing the unknown, the discomfort.
That's a pretty intense analogy.
I know, right? But he's saying that on the other side of that fear is this incredible experience.
Freedom, accomplishment.
Yeah, all of that. So he's saying silence can be like that jump, It can lead to personal growth.
Huh, interesting. Stepping outside your comfort zone.
Being okay with not having all the answers.
And in that uncertainty, you find new possibilities, new ways of connecting. I get that. It's like he's saying using silence isn't just a technique. It's a pathway to becoming a better person.
Exactly. It's about personal development, pushing past those initial feelings of, awkwardness or fear.
To achieve mastery.
Yeah.
Not just in sales, but in life.
I like that. So it's about so much more than just closing deals. It's about growth, both professionally and personally.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, what other fears are we holding on to that prevent us from really connecting with people?
That's a good question. Are we letting fear control us?
Or are we willing to step into that unknown, embrace the silence? Salespeople have a unique opportunity,
To do what?
to help people. It's not about manipulation or forcing a sale.
Okay.
It's about seeing their struggles.
Even if they don't see them themselves.
Yeah, and then guiding them towards a solution.
So it's more like being a coach or a mentor.
Exactly. Helping them reach their full potential.
But how do you do that without being pushy or disrespectful?
Well, that's where silence comes in, by giving them that space to reflect.
They can actually see their challenges more clearly.
Exactly. And consider the possibility of change. You're not telling them what to do.
You're guiding them.
Right, helping them find their own solutions. Coach Dan actually encourages salespeople to get comfortable with being wrong.
Being wrong.
Yeah, make assumptions about the prospect's struggles.
Okay.
And just say them out loud.
Wait, so intentionally make the wrong assumptions.
It sounds counterintuitive, I know, but think about it. When you put yourself out there like that.
You're being vulnerable.
Exactly. And that can create a much deeper connection.
Because it shows you're not just trying to force some prepackaged solution.
Right. You're genuinely trying to understand their unique needs. And Coach Dan, he uses this analogy, learning to drive stick shift.
Stick shift.
Yeah, remember that. It's all jerky and awkward at first.
Oh, yeah. Stall out, grind the gears.
Exactly. But the more you practice,
the more comfortable you get with that initial discomfort.
and eventually you master it. So he's saying getting good at sales, especially this whole silence thing, it's like learning any new skill.
Kicks practice.
And a willingness to, embrace those awkward moments.
So it's about pushing past that fear of making mistakes.
Exactly. Trusting that those fumbles will actually make you better in the long run. This whole process should be driven by a genuine desire to help.
It's not about closing the deal no matter what.
No, it's about truly having their best interests at heart, even if that means they don't buy from you.
Wow, that's a really different way of looking at sales.
But it's not about winning at all costs. It's about making a positive impact.
Even in just a small way.
Exactly. And that's what makes this approach so powerful when you come from a place of service, when you genuinely care about the person.
And results will follow.
Right. And silence, when used authentically, can be the key. It unlocks those deeper connections, leads to better outcomes for everyone.
So it sounds like Coach Dan Gordon's approach to silence and sales, it's not just about some slick technique.
Yeah.
It's about, like you said, personal development.
Self-awareness, a genuine desire to connect.
And to help others.
It's about embracing the power of silence to create a more authentic sales experience.
And ultimately, to become more effective, more genuine in all of our interactions, not just sales.
Right. It's about bringing that same intentionality, that same presence to every conversation.
So maybe by mastering this selling superpower, we can not only boost our sales,
but also discover a new level of confidence
and connection in all areas of our lives. So next time you're in a conversation, take a moment, pause, embrace the silence.
You might be surprised by what happens.
Absolutely. See you next time for another deep dive.
We hope you enjoyed the deep dive. Subscribe to the podcast for more deep dives as Nara and Marcus traverse the infinite exploration into the mind and soul of you. We'll see you next time on The Dive.